Well, you know, I knew that there was going to be an announcement this week. I didn't know it was going to be today. And what a great surprise. What a great birthday present even. You know, I understand that, I don't know much about the process, but I understand that there were scores of people, Calgarians and Canadians, who wrote in letters of recommendation, who wrote in their own comments, who wrote in nominations. And to me, that's very humbling. It's very kind of people to take that time, because these were not short comments that people wrote in, and clearly that made a big difference to the jury. So thank you to all of those folks.
What does it do for the city?
I think it gives us a lot of great visibility. It gives us the opportunity to talk about what we're doing here in Calgary on a national and international stage, which is always important for us, particularly in these tough economic times. So I'm looking forward to using the platform as best I can. And I just want to say thanks to all of the other mayors who always do great work for their cities as well. I only know a few of them on the list, but I want to say thanks to all of them, and to the runner-up from Ghent, you know, thank you for that treaty. It ended the War of 1812, if I'm not wrong.
So why are you so popular, Mr. Mayor? Is it the retweets of Mr. Dodds, or what?
It probably has a lot to do with YYC snow pups, I think. You know, I think that, again, this was something that was decided on by people, by regular people who sent in nominations. And all I tried to do, as you all know, is be very authentic, be real with people, and just focus on working hard on making this community a better place, just like everyone else in the community. So I'm super happy about it, but I'm a little bit overwhelmed by the whole thing as well. That said, I'm sure the snow pups have something to do with it.
How big a deal do you think this award is? Have you heard it? Do you know much about it before you started getting calls about it?
I had certainly heard about it before, because I know that, for example, I think Mayor Diane Watts of Surrey, a couple of cycles ago, did very well in this award. So I'd certainly heard of it before. It's been around, I think, since 2004, so relatively new. But the World Mayor Foundation, I've looked into them, and they actually do some very good work around engaging people at the municipal order of government, as well as around really promoting ethics in governance. And then those are things I can certainly get behind.
If you look at the citation,
I haven't actually looked at it, so.
It talks about you're the most inspired mayor of the city, that your vision of the house plan, how the city's plan for the future is attracting attention all over the world, for all of America, talking about your flood leadership. It doesn't really say anything, cite any of your specific accomplishments. How do you think that is that you wind up winning a World Mayor Prize without any of your accomplishments being acknowledged?
Well, you know, I did take a look at some of the nominations, and certainly people were actually quite specific about that stuff. Now, of course, you know, the work that we do day to day, they probably are not really thrilled about, you know, the new strategic plan for Route Ahead, for example. But all of this plays together. You know, it's impossible, I think, for any politician to just go on good looks and a golden voice, neither of which I have. You actually got to do stuff, and I think that Calgarians appreciate the direction the City Council is taking.
Can we move on to the next topic?
Oh, come on, I'm enjoying this.
I know, but you know, things.
Yeah. You know, that's an excellent question. I actually don't know if there's an award ceremony or if there's a trophy. I'm really, it's all pretty new to me right now. But somebody tweeted a picture of a trophy, which might be the trophy. And yeah, it looked pretty cool.
Free church somewhere?
I don't know. But if called upon to give a lecture about the future of cities in the world, I'm very happy to do that.
So your agenda going to Big City Mayors is?
To brag, no. We have a very important Big City Mayors meeting this week. It's important because of the economic environment that we find ourselves in, as well as the fact that we will have a federal election at some point this year. And I've said before, and I'll say again, that I really believe that whoever gets the urban agenda right, whoever figures out how to fund transit and end congestion, whoever figures out how to invest in water and in housing at a time of lower construction prices, well, whoever gets to do that gets to be Prime Minister. And so my colleagues, the other mayors, and I will really be pressing this point, that regardless of political stripe or where you come from, that now is the time for us to make a serious commitment to reducing congestion and travel times in our big cities, to investing in water and wastewater, to really providing for better housing options for Canadians, and most important, to be helping to stimulate the economy in a time of economic downturn. This really is about jobs and about quality of life.
Have you spoken to John Tory, and does his mayoral team in the biggest city make a difference in that conversation?
Yes and yes. I've spent a good amount of time speaking with John Tory before and after his election about various issues that we face in common. And I think it is going to be really, really great for us to have a solid presence from the Mayor of Toronto around the table, which we haven't always had in the past. The other thing that will make a big difference is to have a Mayor of Montreal, the second largest city, who is really focused on the future of the city, because previous mayors, unfortunately, have been focused on a lot of what has happened there in the past. So to have Montreal and Toronto fully engaged around the table with those great mayors, to have the really, really impressive new mayor of Winnipeg, Mayor Bowman, sitting around that table, along with all of us old folks from Vancouver and Edmonton, I think will make a big difference, and I think we'll get there.
Is the pitch for strong stable funding we're ever going to pitch for going to be any different than the pitch from 2013, 2014, 2012?
The difference is politics. We are, in fact, in an election year. We are in an election that, by all accounts, is a toss-up. And we're in an election that the electoral math will tell you, because of redistricting and new ridings, leads to a more urban solution than ever before. So traditionally, elections have been won through regional strategies. I say this in Quebec, I say this in Western Canada, I say this in Ontario. But I would argue, if I were a political strategist, that this election will be won in the cities. Whoever figures out how to fund transit and end congestion in Vancouver and the Lower Mainland and in Toronto and in the 905 wins the election. And that is a very different dynamic than we've seen in the past.
Do you think that gives the mayor's the mayor's a sense of advantage in this particular meeting?
Hard to say. As a group, the big city mayors who are meeting represent, something like 2/3 of the population of Canada. And remember that every one of us was elected at large by the people in those cities, meaning that we represent an awful lot of voters. And I think that given the political math has changed and the intrinsic logic of what we're saying, that quality of life issues are urban issues for Canadians, it puts us in a pretty good position. And I'm willing to talk to any of the party leaders, the Prime Minister, any existing cabinet ministers, any of the opposition leaders about what their urban strategy is. I've been doing it and I'll continue to do it.
Thanks, everybody.
Or is it just mayors amongst yourself?
The mayors, and there is a summit with some economists and so on that will be public. I don't believe there's any ministerial meetings. Okay, thank you.
5% by Jim Prentice. Is there any thought of you guys taking your pay cut as well?
You know, the challenge here is that many folks say to us, politicians should not set their salaries. And the City of Calgary has abided by that. We have a citizen group that sets our salaries. They are set exactly to the average wage increase in Alberta in the previous year. So they're a little lagging, but they're set in the previous year. As you all know, I happen to think that I'm a little bit overpaid. But that's what the citizen committee recommended. That's why I donate a big chunk of it to charity rather than rolling it back. But I believe that if you think that politicians ought not to be setting their salaries, then they shouldn't be doing it on the way up or on the way down. That said, if we're going into an economic downturn, our salaries are completely tied to the economy. So if we go into an economic downturn, it means next year they'll automatically go down. All right, thank you. Thanks all.